Right, so today I'm in my 996 911. A few of you asked me to talk you around this, so so here it is. Let's have a step outside and see what we've got. So here we go. It's late November, there's still no grit on the road, so I'm just going to take it out now just for a bit of exercise before it gets tucked away. I don't tend to use it that much when it's really foul weather. I tend to use it a bit just to keep it going without storing it away completely, but not so much. I won't be using it so much for now. So I really love this car. Hopefully it looks good in the video as well. So it's a 3.4, not a really early car, but a pre-facelift car with the original headlights, which I didn't want at first, but I've actually grown to really quite like them as the original design, and these cars are more affordable as well. So yeah, I mean, it started with a trip to Auto Farm. You probably heard of the Porsche specialist Auto Farm, and I was doing something there for Car Magazine, and Josh Sadler, who founded the place in 1973, chucked me the keys to his 996 Carrera. I'd only ever driven a turbo before, and quite a baggy one at that, and I drove his car. It was on the upgraded sports suspension, the MO30 suspension, and it had the engine upgrade, but I just thought it was absolutely sensational. I know that 996 is... Sorry, we've got a plane overhead. Yeah, they always get kind of a bit of a bad reputation, don't they, the 996, but this car is so good to drive, and Josh's car was, and after that trip I just said to them, if you get a really nice car that comes in, you know, I don't want to go around kicking tyres, but if you've got a nice car, can you keep it to one side for me, and I'll buy it. And they called me, and I was actually looking for a 3.6, a facelift car, with a lot fewer miles than this, which we'll get to in a bit. But it had been really well looked after by a lawyer, a German lawyer, so he's obviously taking it back to Germany at some point. We've got this, I'm not sure exactly, this is kind of like a German tax disc, I think, or something. Comes with all the press cars sometimes as well, so I think it looks quite cool. So I've left that on, and he did 60,000 miles in it over 4 years and maintained it in Auto Farm, really looked after it, and it came with their recommendation and Josh's recommendation. So that did for me, and I gave him the money. So I am, you know, I'm one for not being too kind of pernickety about a spec, otherwise you never get the right car. In terms of mechanical condition, the two things, you know, if you're trying to align those two things, often you get the spec but maybe not the mechanical condition. So this car actually does come with a nice spec. I mean, Arctic Silver, I like the colour. It's got the 18s, so these are the twist. These aren't the hollow spoke, which are really rare. You can feel the indentation behind them. We've got that plane coming over again, sorry. I think it's a clip-wing Spitfire as well, I don't know if you can see that. It's quite cool. So we've got the 18s here, and it is, we've got no sort of aero kit or even side skirt, so it's just the purest shape you can get, so that quite appealed to me. This is the only upgrade, the Dance Sports exhaust, which is quite common, and since I've had it, I've replaced all these, so it's on the N-rated Pirelli P0s all round, which is the Porsche spec, so they've been replaced. I've done the brakes myself. You can see this caliper, I need to paint that caliper or get them all off, get that sorted out. But a little lockdown project for me was these brakes, and I bought all the parts myself, and I could have got quite cheap parts. They're actually not very expensive. I went for Zebro parts, which are top notch, and bought those from car parts for less. They weren't that much money. They were like £80 a disc, something like that, so not too bad. And then one of the things I didn't like about this car initially was the brake pedal feel. So I've actually gone for Rodo race pads. I think they're DS 2500, something like that. One thing, and that's all round as well. One thing I didn't realise was that the pads didn't have wear sensors in, so when I try to plug the wear sensors in, there's no gap for them. So so the brake sensors on, the lights on, so that's slightly annoying, but it did make a difference and firmed up the pedal, and I think maybe it just had old pads in before anyways, which were a bit crumbly, so that made a big difference. So let's just jump inside then, and other things about this spec that really appealed. So I didn't want a bright colour. I think some of the colours with 996s can be pretty awful. Black was kind of a key choice. This isn't actually black, it's Metropole Blue, which is very dark. There are a few bits of wear and tear on it. You can probably see on the bolsters. This sort of thing will clean up, and to be honest, I haven't cleaned it up. And when you get on the back of the seats, look as well, there's a few marks here, which, you know, I have kids in them sometimes as well, so I'm not really worried about that. It also is a manual, and it's a no sunroof car. So one of the other things that appealed to me about this car actually was it's kind of like, this is the poor man's GT3, so I think the 996 GT3 is amazing, but this is actually lighter. I think this is 1320 kilos, so it's the lightest water-cooled Porsche that you can buy, lighter even than the GT3, and they're so much more affordable. So this one had to come with the manual transmission. That's one thing I had to have. It had to be rear-wheel drive. I really wanted the 3-spoke steering wheel. I think the 4-spoke looks terrible, and you might notice that, which we'll talk about in a minute. And look, so that is the mileage. When I bought this car, it was on 139,000 miles, and that was just over 3 years ago, so it hasn't been loads more since. That's 146, 145, so quite a lot of miles. Maybe not considering the age of the car. It's a 2000 model year, and when I bought it, it had everything done. So a lot of people talk about the IMS bearing issue on these cars. It's had the IMS bearing replaced, which is quite an expensive upgrade. I think maybe £1,500, something like that, because well, at the same time they did the service and they did a new clutch as well. So when I got it, it was just ready to go. Clutch, IMS bearing, full service. And I think it's lovely. I think the drive of this car is really beautiful. I think the engine, the throttle response, the rasp you get. I think the sports exhaust is a bit louder without being crazy. It still feels like a quick car without being crazy. Loads of performance to use, but you know, loads of traction in the dry. I took it to Spire's Tuning in the end because they are a little bit understeery, which you'd expect of a 911, but I just wanted it to feel a little bit more on the nose and a bit more positive. It was brilliant in the wet, especially when I bought it. It had really good front tyres on it and not so good rears, and that in the wet, it was it was a lot of fun. I took it to Spires and they just sharpened up the front with the alignment, so it's a little bit more positive on the front, which I really like. And yeah, the gear shift can, as they are on all of them, they're a bit notchy when they're cold. It warms up and is quite fluid. You do sit quite high in these cars. I'd like it to sit down, the seat to be down a bit more. I don't know if you saw the 992 video the other week. Those cars are really on the deck now, so you can probably see I'm sitting up in this car a little bit. And I had the Cayman 4-litre GTS in recently, and it was really striking actually how that car has kind of taken over where this car was 20 years ago. So performance isn't massively higher. They're both very compact, and obviously the big difference really is the mid-engined layout. But just the commonality between them, the way they drove, and I think this car's such a tactile, lovely thing to drive. I absolutely love it. I think it's just small, compact, nimble, powerful, characterful, and yeah, it's great. Before I forget as well, this car has got a few nice options. So this leather here and here is one of the options, but this wasn't standard. So and I've just had this fitted and I'm still playing around with it and learning it really. But this is the new Porsche PCCM, Porsche Classic Communication Module, and they've done this upgrade for the older cars with a single DIN, sort of half the size of this head unit, and this is the double DIN. They do this for the 996 and the Boxster, and this whole unit here, including the air vents, is new. this double din unit here is obviously new and touchscreen and so on. I'm still messing around with this and figuring it all out here. These inputs here, so you get your USB, and then this is the original, but it was moved right down from here, I think, and there was an aftermarket head unit here. So it's touchscreen. We've got all Porsche sat nav, which is great, and all sort of media and DAB as well. So I love my Radio 6 music, so we've got DAB Plus here. I've still got to do my presets, but maybe have another video with a bit more of a look around this in a bit. But in the meantime, I mean, I've been doing maybe 2,500 miles a year. I've taken it on the North Coast 500, which was great. I did a trip this summer up north where I'm from, so I'm based further down south in the East Midlands now, and we went up and did some stuff in the Pennines, had a drive up there. If anything, I don't use it enough, and like now I'm taking it out for a bit of a ride just to keep it going. It's on a trickle charger a lot of the time, and I just hope that this PCCM is going to encourage me to take it out. I've got the nav, I've got the DAB, and yeah, I just hope I'll get it out next summer when this vaccine's arrived, hopefully for COVID, and we've got better weather, and I can really use this and enjoy it a bit more.